Greetings and welcome back, gentles and ladiesmen, to episode 4 of Let's Play Metroid Prime 2 Echoes. I'm ExoParadigmGamer, and to kick things off in this episode, we're going to be heading into Dark Aether. Ooh, scary. So there are two ways to access Dark Aether. The first way is to find portal gates like this one, which will usually take you to... The thing about the portals in this game is that if you go through a rift portal, such as the one I went through just now, that will allow you to get in and out. That will allow you to transfer between dark and light ether from the same room. Whereas if you try to go through the other method, which is to find an inactive portal just sort of lying around, which you activate using weapons we don't have yet, then there won't necessarily be a portal where you're dropped off, so you have to find another portal in the dark world or in the light world that's near where it is. It'll make more sense when we get up to it. But Dark Aether has something of a gimmick to it, which a lot of people do not care for. And for this first part of the game, I don't necessarily blame them. But as you can see from that text there, whenever you step outside of these protective safe zones, you take damage. Where was I? Oh yeah, so basically, yeah, it's kind of the thing about sharing an apartment with a roommate is sometimes conversations arise. But essentially, these safe zones, while you're in the safe zones, you don't take damage from Dark Aether's atmosphere. But while you're out there, your health will decrease pretty damn quickly. And for this first section of the game, it's kind of annoying. I'm not gonna lie. Even though I personally really happen to enjoy Metroid Prime 2 Echoes, I do not particularly care for the first little section of Dark Aether. Now, as we get farther in the game, that will start to diminish, and you will see why as we get there. But before we get into that, we have a new enemy. These are the Inglets. Yep, Inglets. Inglets perform the menial labor of the Horde, but can be pressed into a combat role if there is a need. They are amorphous blobs, capable of clinging to nearly any surface. Inglets can fire bursts of dark matter in self-defense, so they prefer to avoid battle. They seldom travel alone and can be dangerous in large numbers. As with all Ings, they dislike... I've never heard Ings described with an S plural before, but they dislike bright light and will avoid it if possible. Just something to keep in mind. So there's another one up there. Now, if they stick their little heads out, then you can lock onto them and kill them that way, or you can just shoot a charge beam shot at the little dark puddle, and that'll kill them too. Some of the safe zones you have to activate with your beam. Others you can just walk into, like the one I'm standing into now. And it's kind of important to keep in mind what the different sort of weapons we'll be getting later on will do to the safe zones. They actually make for great... They're actually pretty useful in combat, believe it or not, but we'll be getting to that as we get to that. There's a safe zone right here, the save station, whatever you want to call it. Another thing I haven't mentioned yet is that while you are standing in a safe zone, you do not take damage. In fact, your health steadily increases, as you can see up there. So if your health is getting low, you can always stand in these things and wait for your health to go up. There are plenty of containers containing health and ammo lying around, so... And if you got that energy tank back in the first part, the one that I showed you how to get shortly after we met Umos, then you shouldn't really have too much trouble with this area. Regardless, we have something of a mini-boss here. This is sort of like the poster child for the Ing Horde. Kind of funny to refer to it as that. This is the Warrior Ing. Warrior Ing are challenging foes. They can render themselves into amorphous puddles and move over most terrain, including walls. Warrior Ing can turn their bodies into deadly projectiles sheathed in dark energy. The tips of their legs are razor sharp, making them formidable in melee. Finally, Warrior Ing are capable of channeling transdimensional energy and firing it at their enemies. Their only real weakness is bright, pure light, which they hate and fear. Now, since we don't really have anything super effective on them yet. We're just gonna have to fight it the old-fashioned way. And like I said before, you can shoot the puddles. They are not immune when they are in the puddle form. Only thing is you can't lock onto them, which is kind of one of the reasons why this game... I sort of got into this earlier, but the GameCube version of this game, I'd say... A lot of people consider this game one of the more challenging games in the series. And I would agree with that if you are playing the GameCube version. Because that game, if you don't happen to know, did not have dual analog. The Wii version does sort of have dual analog, because you got one analog stick to move around in any direction, and you aim using the Wii pointer. And the pointer controls are great. I mean, I seriously think that the Metroid Prime Trilogy collection for the Nintendo Wii, it remains one of the best uses of motion control I've seen in a game. You know, alongside Skyward Sword, of course. But this... What the hell was I saying? But, holy shit, I can't remember. Oh yes, so the pointer controls make the game so much simpler. It is so much easier to fight some of the bosses in this game and to take on enemies with this control scheme. And I feel like all the people who hate this game have not played the Wii version and have only played the GameCube version. And they're one of those, you know, button master race people who refuse to give motion control any credit whatsoever. Oh, I should probably scan this guy, if he could stay put. This is another Guardian, so you guys know what that means. This is one of the Ing that have stolen our powers. I wanted to press the 2 button. There you go. The Warrior Ing has absorbed the power of the space jump boots. It can leap incredible distances and heights and uses this ability to great effect in battle. Target can generate powerful shockwaves of dark energy and will sheath itself in a potent force field to protect itself. It cannot maintain the shield indefinitely. Concentrate weapon fire on it when the shield is down. Now, this is basically a more powerful Warrior Ing, except this guy can jump around and create shockwaves and temporary force field. So when it does that, just jump over the shockwave ring and pelt it with missiles and charge shots. I recommend missiles because that seems to be the fastest way to do damage. When it jumps and it's shielded, use charge beam shots because you can't really afford... You can, you know, waste the time with that because you can't attack it in the meanwhile anyway. Don't forget that you have the ability to strafe. Not that it's very useful in this particular fight, but you know, one of the things I really do enjoy about Metroid Prime 2 Echoes are all the boss battles. Out of all the games in the trilogy, this has, I think, the best bosses. There's quite a bit of variety to them, and particularly in the case of the Ing Guardian mini bosses. I mean, like they've got some bosses that are relatively lengthy that, you know, sort of make you feel like, oh yeah, once I've beaten this guy, I've really accomplished something and made something to myself. And then you have shorter battles like this one, which aren't necessarily super hard, but do feel worthwhile and do kind of help to break up the pace of exploring and stuff. There really wasn't anything wrong with the bosses in the first game, but I felt like some of them could get a little repetitive and went on just a little too long. I feel like there's a lot more variety in terms of how the bosses attack you and what they look like and how you defeat them and stuff. That was one thing that, you know, for me at least, I've always felt was pretty great about this sequel. But at any rate, we have defeated the Jump Guardian, and now we're going to recover one of our best abilities, absolute best abilities. I mean, it's one of those things that, like, you wouldn't think would be so great, but every single time I replay these games and have to play the game without the space jump, like, I'm amazed at how different the game feels without it. Basically this is a double jump, in case you haven't played these games before, and makes for some great platforming. It really does. I like the space jump boots. Where this, I think, goes to the temple, and we don't want to go that way yet. Where we actually want to go is up there. It doesn't look like you can reach this, but you can, trust me. Let's see, I want to make... Yes, I want to go... Oh. Okay, I guess that way goes to the temple, and then this way is the way we want to go. My apologies, gentles and ladiesmen. That is what the map is for, after all, is when you don't know where something goes. These guys, we actually... Oh, I forgot to scan them. Shit. Oh, well, we'll be seeing them when we go back to the Great Temple Grounds later. Oh boy, do I want to bum rush this? I'm channeling my inner Eric. In case you don't know, he loves to bum rush shit. In case you're concerned about my ability to survive, we will be finding another energy tank relatively soon, so... My advice for these things is scan them from a distance, because like after it activates, Samus will actually like respawn right in front of the portal, because it assumes that you'll scan it when you're close to it, but that's not necessarily always the case. Oh, well sometimes it does it and sometimes it doesn't. I don't know. Maybe it's my disease-addled brain acting up again. So that was our first trip to Dark Aether. Kind of a good way to dip our toes into it. There's nothing much we can really do there for the time being. So we're going to be spending the next few parts in the light world. And I'll be sure to bring up more about Dark Aether, more things about it that are worth discussing as the time comes. But I find that generally I can understand why people don't like it. I mean, like with most of the criticisms people have of Metroid Prime 2 Echoes, I totally understand. I mean, like, I'm not about to say that you people are wrong for disliking this game. There are perfectly legitimate reasons I used to subscribe to, as a matter of fact, for finding this game inferior to Metroid Prime 1 and 3. But I guess it's something that the more I played the game, the less I seemed to mind some of these things. Because the more I got used to them, and the more the things that I really do like about this game, like, seem to get better for me. But regardless. Oh boy. The boost ball is another thing you miss when you don't have it. So we're going to be going this way, and we are going to navigate our way back upstairs. I apologize if there's any background noise, but there's not too much I can do about that, unfortunately. Because, like, I'm just glad that I have a space where I can record easily. Because I did not have that in the dorm I was living in last year. That was horrendous. It was so echoey. Not that it's much better in this room, but still better. I'll take it. So when we were in this room before, we could not get this particular power up, but bomb this rock here, this orb cannon will shoot you up, and then there's the second energy tank. You do not want to miss this if you are playing this for the first time. Trust me, you will want as many energy tanks and missile expansions that you can get as quickly as possible. They are very useful in this game in particular. So now that we have the space jump, I say we head up there. If I can make it. No, I cannot. I guess there are those dimension hopping guys here. What are they called again? Oh well. I'm just gonna ignore them because they're really like no threat. Go over here. I'm curious about something. Yeah, I couldn't have gotten that door even if I wanted to. Another thing to keep in mind when going from 100% in Metroid Prime 2 Echoes is that there are power-ups in both the light and dark world, and you want to explore both of them as thoroughly as possible. I don't recommend going for dark world power-ups right now, because Samus is not exactly equipped for that at the moment. I say don't bother going for all the power-ups in the dark world until you've finished Agon Wastes, because that's where it becomes a little more manageable. Looks like we have more lore here. By the time we detected the stellar object as it streaked toward our world, it was too late to stop it. We fired numerous weapons at it in a vain attempt to alter its trajectory, but nothing worked. Our efforts placed a great strain on the energy controllers and weakened ether. All we could do as the object drew closer was take shelter and wait. We gathered stores of food and water, reinforced the shielding on our dwellings, and spent the last hours in peace. So as you remember, Umos told us that a stellar object crashed, a meteorite essentially, crashed on Aether and caused the dimensional split between dark and light Aether. And I don't really think there's any lore in this game in particular that says it for sure, but actually I'm going to save that because we'll be learning more about that as we enter this little area here. And I think I'm going to save that for next part. So, next time on Metroid Prime 2 Echoes, we will be entering this door and seeing what lies beyond that, and continuing to explore the Agon Wastes, of course, and perhaps going back to Dark and Light Aether. Ooh, we might even get to a boss battle in the next part, if I'm quick enough. At any rate, I will see you guys next time. Toodles.